A visionary.
Six guy, he a visionary.
I think Keith Adams should be Young Thug's lead attorney. And here's my case.
I observed them come out of the building with their attention already focused on the vehicle that I was driving, myself and my partner. Okay. And then they immediately began throwing the gang signs and yelling at us.
Had you done anything to that group of gentlemen before they came out, focusing on you and your partner, throwing the gang signs and yelling at you?
No, ma'am.
Now, when you talk about gang signs, how long have you worked overall in law enforcement?
17 years.
And what, if any, training or experience have you had during that time that would give you the ability to recognize what a gang sign is?
We certainly had a block of instruction in the academy. In field training, we would be taught to look for those signs from our field training officers, pointing out the signs. But we would literally drive down the street and gang members would throw gang signs at the police car. Throughout my years, I've attended various other trainings that show gang indicators, from tagging to dress to words being said, certainly the colors, and hand signs being the most fluid and evolving indicator of a criminal street gang.
Right. You're a police officer, right?
Yes, sir.
You're a captain.
Yes.
You what you do when you're conducting an investigation affects people's lives, right?
Yes.
You arrest people and take their freedom and take them into custody, true?
Yes.
And you are charged with writing reports that reflect the truth so that someone down the road, maybe a prosecutor, can rely on that information and know if to or how to prosecute someone, right?
Yes.
That is extremely important. Would you agree with me?
Yes.
All right. And so when you write your report, and when you were writing reports back in 2013, those things were just as important then as they are today in this courtroom, right?
Yes.
Okay. And so you weren't a rookie officer back in 2013. You had been on the force for some 7 years?
Yes.
Okay. And so before coming in here to testify, whether it's today, I don't know, yesterday, last week, whenever, did you have an opportunity to sit down with the prosecutors and talk to them about your testimony and your recollection of the events of 2013? Did you do that?
Yes.
Okay, right. And you still came in here today, and and this is the first time, right, that you're mentioning anything about gang signs that you saw when you were brought in here to testify in this, quote, gang case, right?
Yes.
Okay. Now, just out of curiosity, what was a gang sign?
Hold on. What's the basis for your objection?
Well, with respect to
What's the basis of your objection?
first time.
I'm going to overrule the objection.
Okay.
Go ahead, Mr. Adams.
Come in. What was the gang sign you saw being thrown up that day?
No idea.
No idea.
None.
I keep telling y'all, these cops are lying. That's why you take it to trial, because you get to see the evidence. That fool just said they was out there throwing up gang signs and all that stuff and everything like that. But it wasn't in the report nowhere. And then when asked about it, hey, bruh, do you know what gang signs they were throwing? No. So this might have been the gang sign that they was throwing. Possible. Now, that's how Keith Adams understands what to do when an officer's lying. But let's see how Brian Steele does it.
You see that? I do. And this, you know, or do you know, is it's a mixtape called Super Slimy that Mr. Williams made with the rapper Future. Are you aware of that?
I am.
Okay. And then if we go to the right-hand side of Mr. Williams' number 70, did you ever go to, or do you know, that these Instagram postings are songs from this mixtape?
I didn't follow these links, but I have no reason to dispute that they are.
Okay. Let's go to State's Exhibit number 41W?
I'm sorry to interrupt, Mr. Steele. To the extent that you're asking for context of these, I do have additional context that may be helpful as far as these particular tweets.
Okay.
So the tweet on the left-hand side, so we pull that back up. So this particular image was of note to myself and other gang investigators, particularly during this time period. Their rival gang, ABG, has a hawk logo that they use on their own clothing and identifiers. As you can see on the cover of this, there's a hawk skull with a snake, the symbol for YSL, climbing through the eyes of this skull of a hawk.
Does that have anything else?
I believe that's all.
Okay. And when you looked at that, without any question posed, you made it known to me, and I asked you to make it known to the jurors, that that was gang paraphernalia or gang message. Remember all that?
I don't believe that was consistent with my testimony.
You didn't tell this jury last week that there's another item on Mr. Williams 70 that is gang related?
That is not consistent with what my testimony was.
The jurors will recall what you said, but do you deny telling the jurors that you believed that that was done for a gang message?
Again, my testimony was specifically that this was of note to us as investigators for the potential message that it was going to send to rivals and the potential to reignite a gang war that had been going on for quite some time at this point.
You testified last week that you knew that some of the tweets that you testified to on direct examination with the prosecution, you knew them to be lyrics from songs. Remember that?
No, I believe I testified that I believed some of them to be lyrics from songs, or that I didn't dispute your assertion that they were lyrics from songs.
Okay. And you said that the reason you did not mention that on direct examination is because you were not asked. Do you remember that?
I don't recall that, but no, I wouldn't have made statements that I wasn't asked.
Why wouldn't you correct and say this tweet may be or is from a song, even if not asked by the prosecution? Why wouldn't you tell the jurors that?
Well, I can't answer things that aren't asked by the prosecution under direct examination.
On Mr. Williams number 70, I did not ask you about that image. You brought that up and said there's something else I want to say.
Well, to your point, you brought this image up. I did not. The state did not. You brought this image up, and you asked for context around these images and around these tweets. What I wanted to share with the jury was that it was of note to us when we saw this, given context outside of just what was happening on Twitter or on an album cover at that time. I don't believe that I said Mr. Williams' name, and that was the extent of my testimony to this, given that context around this. When I was under direct examination, I wasn't asked to give context for any of the tweets that I read into the record. And to the extent that I would have been asked, it is not uncommon or unusual for someone to quote a lyric, a movie line, a poem, or anything else to express a sentiment. And using a song lyric for that doesn't change that that's how people use lyrics regardless.
Now, if you really want to get the conversation going and rolling, hit a like and a comment. And that'll definitely make sure that we all in. Now, one thing I'll say is this. They're two different styles, 100%. But one thing that I said in a previous video, and y'all can recall, is I said it seems as though when Keith Adams speaks, we'll just call him Attorney Adams for now. When Attorney Adams speaks, it seems as though he commands the entire room. And then I literally talked to one of my sources right there in the courtroom, and they said, Nash, you are 100% right. Brian Steele is suave. Brian Steele is verbose. Brian Steele tries to, quote unquote, leave no stone unturned, but there's this thing called tension span. And I think what Brian Steele's whole entire thing is, and this is what the case is as far as gang and all that stuff is, man, everybody do this. Young Thug ain't the only person doing this. Young Thug ain't nothing like that, bro. He's a studio gangster. Well, it just sucks to see that you would call him a studio gangster, but then say being a part of a gang isn't illegal. You had to pick one because it seems as though you're sashaying between both sides. You could say Young Thug hung out with gangs, but that doesn't make him a gang member. But if you do that, then you can't put in that being in a gang is not illegal. What you should have said was that Young Thug is associated with a gang, but being an associate of a gang is not illegal. And that way, anytime he's seen throwing up anything like that, that's just in support of his associates, not him in particular. That's the angle that he should have ran. It is the equivalent of your cousin coming in from out of town and y'all from a hood and y'all hood is like this and all y'all do is throw up ones. Your cousin, who ain't even from the gang, you see him in the pictures doing the same thing. Why? Because he's just doing what y'all do. He's in support of his cousins. So he'll be there throwing up ones as well. The case against Brian Steele literally goes to the clip I showed you. Because at the end of the day, how he should have went at that cop was completely different. That cop was obviously backtracking and lying. He was. Because you allowed that cop to say all of that stuff about that mixtape, should have had it all written down, and then literally said, I have your direct quotes. These are your direct quotes. I don't know what the rest of your jurors rest of your lawyer mates are doing in the back, or rest of your co-counsel, pardon me, are doing behind you. But somebody should have been writing explicit points about what he was saying. So then you already knew you were going to recross him anyways and come back and then destroy him with his own words. You didn't do that. But every time I see Keith Adams, he goes to flips the page. Now, some of y'all will say, hey, bruh, you make a hell of a point. Or some of y'all may say, hey, bruh, you don't make a point because at the end of the day, Brian Steele is painting the whole picture and Keith Adams is painting the whole picture. Well, if that's true, can I ask you who seems more powerful up there? I'm just asking a simple question. Who seems more powerful up there? Would it be Brian Steele or would it be Keith Adams? We've seen Keith Adams literally do the whole entire, what's the name? God damn it, what is it called? We've seen him do all the questioning, all the cross-examinations. There we go. We've seen him do all the cross-examinations on all of this stuff. And I'm going to be fair with y'all. It made a lot more sense. Now, I know for a fact that I see something that the DA sees, and they made they switch. And we'll talk about it tomorrow. What's really hood when I'm through the hood? Nothing be said, we got it overstood. The team fed, yeah, it's really good. Put that on everything, bro, you're never good. What's really hood when I'm through the hood? Nothing be said, we got it overstood.